Hi, what's up, everyone? It's me, Matt Diazable, and I'm here ready to talk about probably one of the biggest and most anticipated albums of 2025 in the alternative, hardcore, and somewhat, pop music space here. And that is the latest album from the band Turnstile with their latest album, Never Enough. And for those who don't know, like I said, Turnstile is a hardcore and like alternative rock band that is based out of Baltimore, Maryland, and they've been a band since about 2010, and this is their fourth studio album, and they've dropped some EPs throughout their career. But if you're unfamiliar with this band, they were essentially a hardcore band at first when they started over 15 years ago, and over time they gradually evolved into an alternative dream pop band that still has a lot of hardcore ethos into them and like their work ethic. It's very, I guess you want to say a little complicated because they sound so different from what they originally sounded, more aggressive, heavy, and just more like like I said, hardcore music. They was just harder. And with the vision of like a lot of the band members, especially the vocalist Brandon Yates, he they wanted to create something a little bit more, uh, I guess you could say, acceptable to everyone from different parts of the music spectrum. And over time, they've been able to do that while also still keeping their core feelings of hardcoreness with some occasional hard rock sounds throughout their newer material. And with this latest album, Never Enough, Turnstile is definitely taking a big leap further into the unknown with this album by expanding their musical palette. I first discovered this band with their debut album, Nonstop Feeling, and since then, I've seen them progressively change over time. From me, when I first heard them, they sounded like a 90s uh, funk groove hardcore band. And over time, they've naturally evolved and, they've fearlessly reinvented themselves with each album. Each album got a little bit more experimental and just grander with each release. And with this latest album, Never Enough, it's building on the shimmering groundwork that was laid down with their previous album, Glow On, that came out in 2021, which was a very phenomenal album. This latest album, Never Enough, definitely expands on the vision that was created on Glow On here, because this newest album has more texture, more emotion, and just a sonic experimentation that's never been done before with the band. If Glow On was about, transformation, I think this latest album, Never Enough, is about liberation. This is the sound of a band free of expectation, playing with form and genre and just feeling at the most purest form. The opening track slash title track of the album, Never Enough, sets the tone perfectly for this record. It's soft, it has whimsical synths that give it a very crispy, fresh feel. It's emotionally charged with some great vocals and thick, vibrant bass playing. It's a dreamy introduction that slowly just unravels into something more larger and grander. And I gotta say, it's definitely a motif that repeats throughout this album on like this track or tracks like I Care and Like Design that dig deeper into some very textural exploration. So I want to play a clip of Never Enough so you get a sense of just the the unraveling of that softness that they can do here that goes into some hard rock sounds. It just has that grand feel to it. And like on those songs, I Care and Like Design, they do a really good job of blending rich 70s inspired grooves with some really echoey laden guitars, subtle piano work that just flourishes and just sounds really nice and kind of reminiscent of like 80s 8-bit synth wave music. They're doing a really good job of blending different sonics textures into something that's really compelling. I guess you could say it's kind of like they're building a sonic collage here. It's very familiar but forward thinking, nostalgic yet entirely fresh. Like it's old Turnstile, but new Turnstile at the same time. They're doing a really good job of balancing out these new sounds that they want to incorporate without forgetting who they were with previous releases. I know a lot of people over the years have been turned off with Turnstile's new direction, but the band's hardcore roots are still pulsing pretty hard on this record, especially on the songs like Sun Shower and Birds. These tracks are very sharp, aggressive, and they just channel that classic punk energy in a good way while also experimenting with their song structures and rhythm. And I gotta say, even though they've gone away from that really hardcore sound they've started off with, they still pay homage to where they came from. Even like 15 years later, Grammy nominated and doing other pop centric stuff, they don't really forget where they're coming from. So I want to play a clip of Sunshower so you get a sense of just how aggressive and precise the punkness that they're bringing here on some of these tracks. The drum work here is so sharp. Sun Shower in particular showcases the band's ability to like shift gears mid-track, because on this song they break things down a little bit with some flute playing that loops throughout the middle of the song and giving it a very atmospheric layering while snapping back into that hardcore sound. They're able to eke and flow between these different styles very nicely. And it's moments like these that really define what this album Never Enough is about. It's not just about volume or force or aggression, but it's also about dynamic range here, both emotionally and musically. I guess what makes this album feel very distinct is that, it has a lot of emotional clarity to it. Brandon Yates' vocals are consistently compelling on this record, whether he's delivering, more sharp lines that are very fast paced with some punk-like riffs in the background, or letting his voice float through the more ambient textures and territories they explore here. On songs like Magic Man and Slow Dive, there's like a melancholy weight that just lingers long after the final note has been played with. His deliveries on these songs are very stripped down, intimate, and raw. Even as all the instrumentation swells around him, he sounds and remains very grounded with a very human presence to him. So I want to play a clip of Magic Man so you get a sense of just like how emotionally charged and just weighted his vocals are. Suddenly a spark in the night when you're tired of the love. Loved you from the start when the place in your heart was a heart. Never be afraid, just remember what I said when you go. He's really letting his vocals just breathe and just handle the song and just take charge. I will say too, the instrumentation on this album is deceptively quite simple. The drum work here, rarely it's not that flashy, but it is quite incredibly impactful, especially on tracks like Dreaming and Time Is Happening. They do a really good job of guiding the listener with its nice tempo shifts and genre blends. The bass throughout the record definitely deserves its own praise because it's very consistently deep. It has a lot of range to it. It's warm and full of character. Riffs alternate between gritty and light, and sometimes in the same song, giving tracks like Soul and Seeing Stars a lot of layered complexity to them. At times, the band's ambition definitely leads them into some really sprawling and new territories. Songs like Look Out For Me stretch out with some really lush and dreamy interludes that risk feeling a little bit overcooked at times. It's beautiful and whimsical, but perhaps they could have cut the song up a little bit to serve up the better pace out the album a little bit. That's one issue that I definitely noticed with this album. Then you have the song Ceiling, which is like a short, squeaky, vocal driven sketch that flirts with being a little too offbeat for its own good. Like, it's definitely one of the most outlier songs on this album. Still, even in these more indulgent moments, they feel like they're part of the larger whole scheme of things, as Turnstile is working out how to push the limits of their sound through these experimental moments, and they kind of work in the overall scheme of things. Ultimately, Never Enough lives up to its name. It's overflowing with ideas, sometimes too many. But the excess part of that is kind of like part of the charm for this album. I'm pretty sure you know at this point, Turnstile, they are not making a hardcore album. They're not making a pop album. They're not making a synthwave album. They're kind of building a sound universe here. And while not every, experimentation they're doing here lands perfectly, the overall, the big picture of things, it's deeply compelling. It's an album that definitely rewards its listeners through repeat listens, offering both immediate thrills and slow burning emotional resonance. It's an album that's going to grow over time. I wouldn't say it's like an instant classic like Glow On or Nonstop Feeling, but over time there's going to be more people talking about this and liking it because there's so much here to dissect. And I think with this album, Turnstile has really made it clear that there's no going back to older Turnstile or hardcore Turnstile, and not in a negative way, because they're creating some really interesting sound spaces. So honestly, I don't blame them for like going the direction they've gone, because they've created some very impressive work with their taking chances and being diverse with their sound. So this latest Turnstile album, Never Enough, I would say it's a good and decent 8.5 out of 10. Links down below. Tell me what you think about this album. And yeah, I'm Matt from Diazbo. Thanks for watching. Till next time, guys. See you in the pit.
Been thinking good things about you.